Hello and welcome to another episode of Dual Senses, the PlayStation podcast, where we give our 2 cents on all things PlayStation. I am Stephen Morrow, and I'm usually joined by Alex Wolf, but he is away on paternity leave right now, so it's just me this time again. But that does not mean that we are going to stop giving you all of the latest PlayStation news. And there's actually quite a bit of news, at least exciting things that I want to talk about. But before we get into the news, I want to share a little bit about what I'm currently playing. And that is Nier Replicant, and then a series of numbers that are meaningless. So Nier Replicant is the re-release of the now 11-year-old Nier, the original Nier, the prequel to Nier Automata. And I've been playing it, and I just wanted to give it a shout-out because this game is awesome. It's very charming, and even though the game still looks and plays basically the same as it did back in the day, I still think it's a nice game. It's got enough unique ideas in it to keep it relevant, I suppose, and fans of Nier Automata, I think, would really enjoy this game. It's got a very classic kind of role-playing game charm, which I really like. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm like 24 hours in, but I'm not very far because I've been doing all of the side quests and side things. Because I'm me. I also spend a lot of time just sitting there listening to the music because the music is so fucking good in this game. But I wanted to give that a shout out. Highly recommend. That's what I've been spending a lot of my time, a lot of my free time playing lately. I just wanted to give that a shout out. But now, on to some recent PlayStation news. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about today is actually a tweet from Jeff Keighley. But I thought that this was interesting, so I'm going to share it. So Jeff Keighley, who a lot of you would probably recognize as the host of the Game Awards, so he tweeted, "Incredible PlayStation facts in company earnings." That's a quote. So these are just random facts of PlayStation company earnings. And I thought this was pretty remarkable. So, 7.8 million PlayStation 5s sold. 47.6 million PlayStation Plus subscribers. 338 million games sold for the PS4 and PS5 in the past year. And $24.4 billion in gaming revenue in the past year. And he also puts in parentheses for comparison that the global box office was $11.5 billion in 2020, with many movie theaters closed and everything. But, I mean, that's remarkable. But gaming did more than twice as much, or PlayStation made more than twice as much money as the entire box office in 2020. Which I know COVID is a factor in that, but still, that's remarkable. And the fact 7.8 million PlayStation 5 sold in the middle of a pandemic when we had, chip shortages, that's pretty incredible. So I just wanted to give that a little shout out because I think that's astounding. It's crazy to think about all these big numbers, and here I am with not even $1,000 in my bank account. It's just baffling, but really cool. So props to PlayStation. I mean, they're fucking killing it, and I feel like they're going to continue to kill it. Alright, and on top of that, just a random little update. I won't spend too much time on this because it's probably not a big deal to too many people, but I thought it was kind of cool. So, Predator Hunting Grounds, I guess it used to be a PlayStation 4 exclusive, has hit its 1-year anniversary, and they announced that the game is coming to Steam as well with complete cross-play or cross-platform compatibility. You can invite people cross-play or cross-platform into your games, things like that. So that's pretty cool. They're also celebrating the 1-year anniversary with a new map, a new airstrip map, and a bunch of new cosmetic options for your Predator. Really cool. I played that game. I played a little bit of the beta before it came out, and then a little bit after the game did come out, I bought it, and it's a fun little game. It's not super remarkable in any way, but it's something that I still, I still turn it on and play it every now and then. It's just a fun little online game. It's one of the few online games that I actually can play and enjoy without feeling intimidated or without feeling like I'm just completely going to let everyone down. But it's a lot of fun, and now it's available on Steam. So now there's even more people who can play it, and it's got cross-platform play and cross-platform invites, so that's fucking cool. And a new map, which means new missions. So, always awesome. Also, this would not be an episode of Dual Senses if we didn't talk about free stuff, because I love free stuff, and apparently PlayStation does too, because they seem to be giving out a lot of free things lately. But, by that same token, PlayStation has announced the free games that are coming to PlayStation Plus for the month of May. And some of these are interesting. So, firstly, on the PS4, which means that they are also playable through backwards compatibility on the PS5, are Battlefield 5, which is one that I have always wanted to play just for the campaign, but I didn't want to spend money on, so that's exciting for me. So Battlefield 5, and the game Stranded Deep, which is a sort of like survival, like an island survival kind of game. There's like sharks, you can build a raft, and you survive on an island. You can like die from hunger and thirst and shit like that. Stranded Deep has... so like I'm not super familiar with Stranded Deep, but it has kind of mixed reviews, but still it seems like a fun game. I mean, especially for free. Everything is worth it for free, right? But it seems like a fun little game. Probably fun to stream too. So those are the two games that you can play on the PS4. And then for the PlayStation 5, the game Wreckfest, Drive Hard, Die Last. This is a sort of like destruction derby kind of thing. Lots of smushing cars together and causing a ruckus. Now, this game is actually available on the PlayStation 4. However, the PlayStation Plus version that they're releasing for free is only for the PS5, not for the PS4 version. So that's kind of a bummer. I like it a lot when there's, whenever there's a game that's available natively on the PS5, but also on the PS4, I like it when it's sort of cross-buy or, cross-download. That would have been nice, but yeah, I mean, I'll take whatever I can get. They've had an amazing past few months on PlayStation Plus, so, this is fine. It's definitely not, at least in my opinion, this month is not as much of a banger as some previous months, especially with the Wreckfest only being on PS5. But I think Battlefield 5 is a pretty big one. That's a popular one. I've heard really good things about the campaign. I mean, it's a Battlefield game, so that's a big deal. But yeah, so as always, add it to your library, whether you think that you're going to play it or not. Free stuff is free stuff, and in the future, you can always go back. Even if you don't have a PS5, you can still add Wreckfest to your library. You can do so on the online or mobile versions of the PlayStation Store. And I think actually now, thanks to a recent update, you can do it on the PlayStation app. So that's nice as well. I mean, you could before, but I always had problems with like the formatting and everything, and recently they actually fixed that. So I think it was the same time that they did the recent PS5 firmware update. It was like the first firmware update. They also updated the app, and that fixed all the problems that I was having on the PlayStation app. So yeah, make sure you do that. God, I just fucking love free stuff. I love PlayStation Plus. We've gotten some really good shit from there. Good shit. And speaking of good shit, or at least questionable shit, or shit of questionable quality, inconsistent quality, I don't know what I'm trying to say. PlayStation has had another State of Play. And actually, this State of Play, as of the time of this recording, happened just like an hour ago. I waited because I wanted to be able to talk about it on this episode. So this episode is going up a little bit late, but that's because I wanted to be able to watch the State of Play and have it in the most recent episode. So this is like super fresh news. But anyways, the State of Play that happened today was focused mostly on Ratchet and Clank. However, there were 2 announcements ahead of the Ratchet and Clank gameplay footage that they showed. So I'm going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about Ratchet and Clank. So firstly, in the State of Play, they showed gameplay for the new Subnautica Below Zero. And this is sort of like a sequel expansion. No, it's a sequel. So this is a sequel to the popular Subnautica game. It's sort of like the ocean survival inventory management kind of thing. And actually, Subnautica was recently free on PlayStation Plus, so you probably have it on PS4 if you're listening to this podcast. Yeah, so the gameplay, I mean, it looks like more Subnautica. There's a little bit of a story that they showed. There's some character who's like looking for their sister or something. There's new creatures, new environments. It's more of like an Arctic setting, so there's snow and frozen shit. There's lots of ice everywhere. Seems like an awful, hellish environment to try to survive in, but they still managed to make it look kind of beautiful and nice. I still haven't played Subnautica on the PS4. I actually have it downloaded, and I am probably going to jump into it after I finish Nier Replicant. I've just been so into Nier, like it's all that I play right now, just because it's a personal favorite of mine. But yeah, so the big news, though, for this, at least I think the big news is, so Subnautica is also coming to the PlayStation 5, and they have announced that they are confirming that if you own the physical or the digital edition of Subnautica on PS4, you can upgrade to the digital PS5 version at no additional cost. So that's very important. And I believe that that means that everyone who got Subnautica for the PS4 on PlayStation Plus can also play the PS5 version of Subnautica for free, no additional cost, as long as you have a PlayStation Plus membership, if I'm understanding this correctly. And similarly, those who purchase Below Zero, the Subnautica sequel, on the PS4 will be able to upgrade to the PS5 version for free. So that's very important. And this game, it's releasing May 14th. So Subnautica Below Zero releases May 14th on PS4 and PS5, and it's only $29.99, so $30. So not too bad. I love the free upgrades. I love that. More of that, please. None of this complicated shit where like certain people get certain things. If you have the PlayStation Plus version, then you're disqualified. None of that. I'm looking at you, Square Enix, and your fucking Final Fantasy Yuffie bullshit. No. I like it when it's simple. I like it when you just can upgrade for free. If you already own the game, it's fine. Boom. Subnautica knows what the fuck they're doing. At least in this regard. So, that's all really cool. I love that, like, it's really telling when the most exciting news for a game is just the fact that there's a free upgrade. Like, it's almost... I don't want it to sound like demeaning or anything, or like condescending to the game. I don't know if that's the right word, but like I don't want to distract from the game itself. But it really is. For me, it's frustrating because I don't have a PS5 right now, and I don't want to have to like hold off on buying a game just because I know that I'm going to play it on the PS5 eventually, and it would suck to have to like double dip and spend that amount of money again on the same exact... It's just frustrating. It's a weird, frustrating time, and the fact that PS5s are still hard to find just adds to it. And so when a publisher decides, oh, well, we're not going to do, a free upgrade or whatever, it's just always a little frustrating. Like, I mean, I understand they got to make their money, business, whatever. Sometimes there's a lot more that goes into releasing something on, the PS5 versus the PS4. I mean, I know that sometimes they have to go back and they have to update things. I understand all of that. However, it's just really nice when I, as a consumer, don't have to fucking worry about it. And I can just download a game. I love it when it's simple. So, Subnautica, Below Zero, it's simple. You have it on PS4, you have it on PS5. Boom. Easy. Free upgrade. Love it. Anyways, so that was the first thing that was announced on the new State of Play. Now, the second thing, and I think this is pretty big news, this is something that we kind of, I guess we already assumed, I suppose, but now it's officially announced that coming to PS4 and PlayStation 5 this year is the hit, award-winning game, Among Us. And that's really most of all that we know. In 2021, Among Us is coming out on the PS4 and the PS5. There's exclusive cosmetic items like costumes and shit based off of Ratchet and Clank, which is kind of adorable. So yeah, Among Us is coming to PS4 and PS5. About time. I mean, it didn't take too terribly long, but still, this is a huge game, and I can see it being pretty successful on, anything that it releases on. It's already on PC, it's on mobile, now it's on PlayStation. So that's pretty fucking cool. But now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the wonderful, wonderful world of Ratchet and Clank, because that was the main focus of this State of Play. And I am notorious for saying that it's okay that I don't have a PS5. However, it becomes a problem when Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart releases. And we're coming up on that time where Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is releasing. But yeah, the more that I see of this game, the more that I just can confirm that it's fucking awesome. It's Ratchet and Clank, so it's just a feel-good game, I suppose. Like, it's just a game that feels nice to play. Gaming comfort food is how I describe it. But yeah, so about 15 minutes of more gameplay footage for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart was revealed during the State of Play, along with some new information about some gameplay bits and things like that. And first and foremost, I want to say, this game looks gorgeous. Like, oh my god. The lighting effects, the particle effects, the fur on Ratchet's little, well, they're not little, on his massive ears, everything. This game looks absolutely stunning, so that's really cool. Also, I want to reiterate that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a standalone adventure. Whether you've played the other games or not, the story is kind of self-contained, so you don't have to worry about being familiar with the franchise. This is a good sort of starting point. So during the gameplay that they showed, a lot of it was just kind of like little snippets here and there of little parts, different environments, and some different game mechanics. And it was all narrated by the creative director of the game, and he was explaining different things. Like, for example, when they were developing this game, they wanted to emphasize enhanced mobility in the game design. So there's different movements and things like that go along with that. So, for example, you can wall run. Why can I not? Wall run. Oh my god, am I having a stroke? You can wall run in the game, and it's very like fast and snappy, so that's really cool. There's also a new dash ability where you can dash. It works kind of like a dodge, or in combat you can use it to sort of like dash behind an enemy and then hit them from behind, things like that. So that it just seems really satisfying to play, honestly. So there's dashing, there's wall running. God. So that kind of adds to the enhanced mobility. There's also they talked a little bit about the adaptive triggers, allowing for different shooting styles in the guns. So each gun has at least a couple different firing modes. They were talking about how basically you can activate the different firing modes instead of having to use another button to toggle between them based on how far you press the adaptive trigger. So you'll be able to feel kind of where the first firing mode ends and the second one begins. So if you press a little bit, there's going to be some tension, and then that's the primary firing mode, I suppose. And then if you push past that tension and click into the next sort of zone on the trigger, then it'll go into the second one. So there's different guns that have different firing modes based off of that. So that seems pretty cool. They showed just some, like, a little bit of the story, like little snippets of the story. There was a nefarious city in a dimension in which Dr. Nefarious is kind of like the ruler. They didn't really go too much into that. They just kind of like mentioned just that. And then Ratchet is just kind of like trying to find Dr. Nefarious. But yeah, so there were some like story bits, there was some traversal, and there was some combat. And all across the board, the game looks gorgeous. It looks like it plays so smooth. The worlds are so like lively. So and they talked about this during the state of play, that they wanted to have the worlds seem more like they're lived in. There's more creatures. In Nefarious City, there's spaceships flying all over the place. There's characters walking around the city streets, little alien characters. In other sections of the state of play, I keep saying state at play. I don't know why, but at other sections of the state of play footage that they showed, there were like jungle environments with lots of creatures, like a shit ton of alien creatures, lots of foliage and things moving. So these worlds are a lot more like teeming with life, especially when compared to, what was it, 2016? The Ratchet and Clank, I think 2016 is when Ratchet and Clank came out on PS4. But yeah, so huge upgrade in that area. And actually, by that same token, so in the game, you're traveling across multiple different dimensions. There's like a shit ton of different dimensions, and there's sort of like different versions of the same place, if that makes sense. So like you can visit, an example that they gave in the state of play was you can visit like familiar classic planets from previous Ratchet and Clank games, but based on what dimension you're in, they can look a little bit different, or there can be different things that have happened in that dimension that sort of change that familiar environment into something that's a little bit less familiar. So that's really cool, but that also affects characters. So you'll see recognizable characters from other Ratchet and Clank games, but maybe they're a bit different in different dimensions. So, for example, Mrs. Zircon was in the footage that they showed. She's the weapons dealer. So that's where you buy your weapons. And like I previously mentioned, Dr. Nefarious is the king or the ruler of Nefarious City. He's kind of like an evil dictator kind of deal. So lots of that kind of stuff, which I'm excited to see more of in the game. Now, again, they did say that this is self-contained. You don't have to have played the other games. However, I like that they're putting things in that can be appreciated by people who have played the previous games. So that's really cool. On top of that, they showed more of the sort of dimensional traversal shit that kind of wowed us when we first saw gameplay during the PS5 reveal. So there are dimensional tears, and we saw this in like ever since the beginning when they first showed it. But the dimensional tears are sort of like rips in whatever dimension you're in, where you use an item, I guess, or a weapon or a tool called the Rift Tether, and you basically like pull the dimensional tear towards yourself to jump into it, and then it's a quick way to jump across further distances on the map. So that again goes with the enhanced mobility. But on top of that, there's other dimensional things, like for example, there's pocket dimensions, and now pocket dimensions are basically like portals on the world that you're in that lead to sort of mini dimensional worlds, and they're hidden throughout different levels. So they're kind of like, if you remember, I don't know if any of you guys have played Ratchet and Clank, Crack in Time, but there were like the big planets were like the main planets, and then there were small little side planets that had little side goals. The pocket dimensions are kind of like that. So they're like mini levels or mini worlds that have their own things going on. However, based on what I saw in the state of play footage that they showed, these pocket dimensions are pretty involved. Like there's sometimes there's like a lot of things going on in them, so that's pretty cool. But just lots of weird dimensional shit. They showed like a little bit of a boss fight where during the boss fight, Ratchet jumps into a dimension and ends up on a completely different planet with a bunch of shit going on. It was just a bunch of stuff happening. I'm really excited to see what kind of dimensional shenanigans they can put into this game. Did I mention that this game looks fucking beautiful? Because it looks fucking beautiful. And watching the gameplay of, jumping through different dimensions and instantly being transported to other worlds and all these things moving and instantly loading, this game, it is just stunning. It is just visually impressive and mesmerizing. And I'm wondering, I can't wait to get my hands on it and to feel it, because I just feel like it's going to feel really good to play. But I'm also a little bit worried, personally, because I am the kind of person where when I first got my PS4, I played Killzone Shadowfall, and I spent an hour looking at a tree because I had never seen a tree look that beautiful in a console game before. And with Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I'm afraid that I might just stand there and stare at shit and just be mesmerized and not be able to actually play the game. Kind of like how when I'm playing Nier, I'll just sit there and listen to the music because I think it's pretty. So, I mean, not that that's a bad thing. That's definitely not a bad thing. It's just, that just means it's going to take me forever to get through this game because I'm just going to be completely mesmerized by the smallest little things. But this game looks beautiful, and I cannot stress enough how beautiful it looks. They fucking nailed it with the presentation. The lighting, oh my god, some of the bits that they showed, it's amazing. Sorry. I'm gushing. I'm just really excited about this game. I'm telling you, it's like the one PS5 game that I think, for me at least, is just like, ooh. And it's right around the corner. Anyways, they also showed off some new guns. There's a gun called the Shatter Bomb, and that kind of reminds me of, I can't remember the name of the weapon, but basically, like, you shoot it and it's almost like a weird grenade and it explodes into other little bits, so that, like, the bomb shatters. So there's that. There's also a plant gun. I can't remember the name of the weapon, but it's, it, like, turns creatures into plants, like almost like trimmed hedges, so there's like leaves everywhere, and then you can further trim them by just blasting them to bits. So that's cool. So more quirky, fun, and overly explosive weapons, just like it's traditional for a Ratchet and Clank game. There was also just, at the end of the state of play, there was just rapid fire. They were talking about different features and shit like that. So they showed some footage. There's a bunch of rideable creatures, so that's really cool. They showed, it looked like a slug or a snail, but it moved really fast, and you can ride that. There were like these flying creatures that you can ride on. But I mean, at the end of this state of play, they literally just were like, oh, also in this game is boom, 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 and they just listed these things. So they said open areas to explore, dimensional clank levels, glitch challenges, arena challenges, aerial combat, pocket dimensions, and Ratchet and Clank photo mode. And that's pretty exciting. It's the first time ever in a Ratchet and Clank game where there's been a photo mode integrated into the game. Based on what they showed, it seems pretty extensive. You can place and pose characters. You can give them different facial expressions. There's a bunch of stickers and different filters and shit like that. I love me some photo modes. Love photo mode in all kinds of different games. It's just nice. It's nice to be able to, if you see something pretty, you can make it look even prettier, and you can, snapshots of it. It also kind of helps with the game itself, with marketing, because then, people take a nice photo, they share it on social media, boom. So there's that. Also, arguably, the most exciting feature, accessibility options. So they made it a point during the state of play to mention the accessibility options. They said that they are offering an extremely wide range of accessibility options. They kind of the video went very fast and it was just showing all kinds of different things, but it seems like it's on par with what we saw in The Last of Us Part 2, and so that's really exciting. I'm really happy with the PlayStation first-party developers' use of accessibility mode, and, just the breadth, God, I cannot fucking talk. Breadth? That's such the wide variety of options for people who need accessibility options, or for people like me who don't necessarily need them, but appreciate them when I just have, certain issues with different things. So it's always nice to have those there. There's no reason not to. It does nothing but enhance the game. I'm all for it. So really excited about that. They did say that they're going to go into more detail on the accessibility options at a later date, so that'll probably end up being like a blog post or maybe a separate video or something. So we'll probably see that relatively soon. You can play as, and we already knew this, but you can play as Ratchet, Rivet. Rivet is the new sort of female Lombax character, and you can play as Clank in the Clank challenges, or the dimensional Clank levels, whatever the fuck that means. So multiple playable characters, multiple rideable aliens and creatures and shit. This game just looks like a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Andreas he was watching some of the state of play, and he even just turned to me and he stopped and everything that he was doing. He was like, that game looks like a lot of fun. So even Andreas thinks that game looks like a lot of fun. But yeah, so just a reminder, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart comes out on June 11th. So about a month and a week. A month and a week and a half. A little over a month. And hopefully I can get a PlayStation 5 by then. Hopefully. And I've said it before, I will say it again. I am not above killing a man. Or a woman. To get a PlayStation 5. Now, with that being said, if you would like to support the show, and also maybe help me get a PS5 and avoid having to murder somebody, please visit www.mtfproductions.com/donate. There's a link in the description of this episode. If you are listening on our website, mtfproductions.com, there should also be a button that you can click on the article. But yeah, any donation, any support is greatly appreciated. Even if you aren't able to donate anything, which, any amount helps out tremendously. You can donate as little as $1. But even if you're not able to donate anything, just listening to the show really helps us. Also, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, rating and reviewing the show, that also helps with visibility, and also sharing the show with a friend or somebody that you love. So, yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for your support. and everything. And yeah, that basically wraps it up. This is a kind of shorter episode. There wasn't as much like crazy news. It was really just the state of play and really PlayStation Plus. But I did like the tweet from Jeff Keighley with the PlayStation numbers and stuff. That's really impressive and exciting. Really cool shit. But yeah. Oh, also Returnal. As of the time of this recording, I think Returnal comes out tomorrow. And reviews have been trickling in, and it's been reviewing pretty well. A lot of people are very impressed with the gameplay and with the story, saying that it's mysterious and interesting, and saying that the game does a really good job of sort of mixing the roguelite aspect with the third-person shooting and the narrative focus. I didn't want to spend too much time on this episode talking about that because the game's not out quite yet, and reviews are still trickling in, so I wanted to give it some time, but we'll probably end up talking about Returnal in a future episode. But so far, so good. I think last I checked, it was sitting at like an 83 on Metacritic. Not a single negative review so far, at least when I looked. But again, reviews are still trickling in. But yeah, so for the first actual PlayStation 5 exclusive, really, aside from Demon's Souls, I think. I mean, and Astrobot. Yeah, I think this is the first real PS5 exclusive. From a PlayStation, like, first-party type deal. But yeah, this, or no, Housemarque isn't first-party, is it? I'm all fucked up. Anyways, either way, one of the first big titles for PS5 that's an exclusive, and it's reviewing really well. So if I had a PS5, I would be checking that out as well, but I don't. But anyways, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for your support. I know this was a little bit of a shorter episode, but that's fine. We kind of blazed right through all the news and everything. Yeah, thanks for listening to me rambling on by myself again for another episode. Like I said, Alex is on paternity leave, and from what I hear, everything is fine and dandy with his newly born child. I'm just kind of giving him some space and some time to get acquainted with with his new baby, and with the role of being a father. I don't know. I don't know what I'm fucking saying. Alright, anyways. Thanks again. Have a great day. Love, love, love. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for your support. We'll tune in next time on Dual Senses.